What did that look like moving into your diagnosis with endometriosis as well?
I think I always share that story about struggling with epilepsy for many years and now being able to use an alternative medicine to manage my seizures. I think for me, that laid such a powerful foundation for, to your point, trusting in my own intuition and listening to my body. And it is not to demonize allopathic medicine because, again, as you said, there's always a time and a place, and we would be absolutely lost without it. However, when there is a safer and a more natural alternative that comes with less side effects, and of course, that's always going to be more preferable. And endometriosis was something that I remember experiencing pain almost for as long as I've menstruated. Perhaps it started around 17, so maybe I had a few years of slightly more manageable pain. But then I think back from around the age of 17, and I started experiencing incredibly painful periods. I would pass out from the pain. I would vomit. I would have these attacks where I would be lying on the pavement. I can remember so many situations. I remember being in the back of the car, my mum driving and being like shouting in the back. I was on the back seat and I was like, I'm dying, like in so much pain and her panicking. I remember being like in Barcelona when I was like a teen, lying on the pavement floor. Like it was terrifying. It was so terrifying. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I repeatedly kept going to my general practitioner and my OBGYN and trying to articulate the level of pain that I was experiencing. And I think this is another interesting point to loop back on, which is trusting one's intuition. As women, we are incredibly intuitive. And I think that trust in ourselves has been taken away from us. And I think it's really important. And we're certainly reclaiming it now. But I think due to medical misogyny and other patriarchal things that have been projected on us, we have lost a lot of that. And I think my situation is a prime example of that, where I kept repeatedly going to my doctor and saying, this pain that I'm experiencing cannot be normal. I shouldn't be suffering like this. And I was just told time and time again, really the sort of sentiment was that periods are painful and that if you don't take birth control, then you will continue to suffer. And I didn't want to take birth control because I was already taking drugs to manage my seizures. And again, I guess it was that side of myself that just wanted to have somewhat of a cleaner system and not overload my system unnecessarily. In hindsight, I don't know that I made the right decision because I was taking so many painkillers every month to treat this pain. However, when I started using cannabinoids to treat my epilepsy, by this point, I'd weaned off my anticonvulsant medicines. And I would say about a year or so in, I really noticed that my endometriosis pain was shifting and I wasn't experiencing periods that were as painful. If they were at a 10, they dropped down to maybe at about a 6. And at first I thought, okay, this perhaps my hormonal imbalance is leveling itself out with age. And at the time I was actually making and working on a documentary about my journey and my sister's journey with epilepsy and cannabis. And so we were doing a lot of research at this time. And I stumbled upon a study that was coming out of Israel specifically on endometriosis and cannabidiol, CBD. And it was this sort of light bulb moment when I suddenly thought, I wonder if there's a correlation here between my improved periods. And at that point, I was also getting to try a lot of different products. I think because I'd been so vocal about my journey with epilepsy and cannabis, I really leaned into advocacy on the sort of patient access side. I was doing a lot of public speaking. I was sharing my journey and I was getting to try and test a lot of products. Again, if I was to go back in time, I probably would have been a lot more cautious with what I was testing and trying, knowing now, what I know. However, I started to, I think, make the connection. And at that point began testing different products and using cannabinoid products in different ratios at different times in my cycle. And really I was just sort of being a guinea pig myself. And I started using cannabinoid suppositories. And when I started using cannabinoids intravaginally, my endometriosis improved even more. And that really, I would honestly say, was the start of wanting to birth my own company, but develop products that I
Mm,
really believe utilizing some of these incredible botanically derived ingredients in nature to help support women and people who are assigned female at birth with managing their hormonal health and their menstrual cycles. This has been a long journey
yeah.
with many different chapters. And I think you know this better than anyone. Oftentimes, like our darkest days and our struggles end up
Mm,
somehow becoming the light within our life. Like we somehow can often shift and transform this darkness into something really magical and really light. And I feel very grateful that
mm.
that in many respects has been my journey.
Yeah, your resiliency is truly like awe-inspiring. And I feel like, yeah, if I didn't go through what I went through, I don't think I ever would have, I wouldn't have been able to birth the business that I have today or be able to share stories.